A young girl wakes up in a stranger's bed, but before she can question him, he has to finish the game. The show starts off with a young girl, Akane, getting her heart broken into pieces as her boyfriend dumps her over a girl he has been playing an online game with. She anticipated the breakup and wasn't aware that it would take place this soon. At her apartment, her roommate thinks it's funny that she got dumped over a game of all things, and only God knows what is going on inside Akane's wife. Her ex-boyfriend has even requested that she give him back the equipment he lent her back when they were dating. While she can lament this sorrowful time, Momo tells her to get over it soon as she has other things to do in life and heads off to classes. Akane gets to her work, and the moment she opens her laptop, the first thing she does is open the game she started only because of her ex-BF. Different emotions are flowing inside of her, and she cannot believe she invested so much time into something and all she got was a heartbreak at the end. She lets out her anger on the poor monsters inside the game, and an Afro character pops up to stop her. The other wants to use the hunting ground for experience, and she starts rambling on about how sad her life is. However, the other could care less and replies with a single word or two every time she starts clapping up her keyboard. Akane gets irritated and lashes out all at him, and the other, like the careless he is, just tells her she is right and he isn't interested before going his way. Afterward, Akane sees the in-game announcement of an event and decides to attend it. She feels that her ex will also be there, but instead of backing off, she wants to see him regret his decision. She goes out to meet up with Momo, and the two head out to do some shopping. She is finally done preparing for the event, and just as she enters it, she finds his ex along with his new girlfriend. Since they aren't hearing her, she decides to confront them, but accidentally bumps into someone and falls off. She is ashamed to have been the subject of various stares and doesn't want to show her face to anyone. However, when the person she bumped into comes to her help, she apologizes and explains that she isn't going through a good time. However, the other absolutely doesn't care about her long Perez, and she instantly recognizes him as the guy she met in the game. After calling out his name, the other stops. While she is chatting with Yamada, her ex, Takuma, notices them and immediately comes to greet Yamada, completely ignoring Akane. This doesn't go well with her, and after she finally confronts him, the other asks what she is doing here of all places since he never expected to see her at the event. Akane tells him that she is here with her new boyfriend, but Yamada completely denies him, and she bribes him with an in-game pin code just so he can play along with her lie. When Yamada affirms that she is telling the truth, Takuma is devastated since he commented on his every post and never had a close connection with him like Akane does now. However, he has her girlfriend console him, and Akane takes Yamada out for drinking. The other desperately wants to leave, but since he made a promise that he will play along today, he decides it's best to give her some company. Akane is interested in gaming terminology and asks him various questions, which he pretty much answers in a few words. Yamada is a pro gamer, and she is amazed that he gets paid for just playing the game. Akane reveals that she wanted to get pretty so she could make him envious, but their relationship instead made her regret being single and is about to tear up. She heads to the bathroom and notices that her clothes have gotten dirty and she is scraped off her leg as well. The other takes a break from his game to check up on her, and the first thing on her mind is knowing whether she did something with him. The other assures her that nothing of that sort ever occurred, and tells her that he washed her puke-covered clothes, much to her embarrassment. After changing clothes, she heads off, and the other is sure that he won't see her again. Later, at her apartment, just as she is getting ready to get some rest, she notices that she has lost her necklace and searches all over the place but doesn't have any luck in finding it. She suspects that she dropped it off at Yamada's apartment and instantly logs into the game to ask him. She finds their guild leader, Ruraheim, there, and the other hears out her story. Ruraheim consoles her and assures her that everything will get better with time, but she can't help her with the necklace problem. Suddenly, Yamada spawns right before them, but before Akane can ask him any question, Ruraheim has so much to discuss with him. As they are busy talking, Akane feels it would be rude to just confront him and privately messages him inquiring about the necklace. The other has no idea, and he notices filth gear in the guild's storage. Yamada doesn't have useless gears to be hanging there every time he logs in, and Ruraheim tells him that whoever is collecting them is doing it out of goodwill for the others. When Akane admits it to be her doing, Yamada tells her that even a 3-minute newbie could collect better gear, completely embarrassing her. Meanwhile, Yamada decides to look for the necklace, but accidentally steps on it, causing it to break. Akane has a dream about Takumine, which soon turns into a nightmare. She goes out with Momo, and the other has gotten bored of her stories revolving around her ex and wants to know more about the gaming nerd Yamada. Akane wants to find the necklace, as it is the last memory of her ex, but the other criticizes her for not having moved on even after everything happened. Later, when she is getting back, she finds some girls confessing to a dude, and she doesn't pay any attention to him. Because of him turning the girls down in a weird way, Akane is reminded of a familiar figure, and just as she looks back, Yamada is about to leave. She stops him, and the other isn't even aware that the girls are confessing to him. She instructs him to learn about the nature of human subtleties, and he reveals that he was trying to see her again, to give her necklace back. However, it is shattered now, and he apologizes for it. The other was planning to toss it anyway, and she assured him that it was no biggie. As they are parting ways, it starts to rain. Seeing as she doesn't have anything to cover herself, Yamada hands over his umbrella to her and runs off. After getting back home, her mother sends all of her stuff over to her, and they have little space to fit all of them. Momo tells her to throw away some of the things, and she eventually has to decide whether she wants to throw away the necklace or the bear plushie. Akane has decided to move on from her ex, and Momo is glad that she chose to keep the bear. The following night, Yamada opens the door, only to find the drunken Akane and Momo returning his umbrella. Momo immediately confesses, and he is annoyed to the point he wants to call up the cops on her. Akane swiftly notices the atmosphere and thanks him for his help before taking her friend away. Yamada informs her that Ruroheim is worried, and if she finds some spare time, she should play the game, which the other agrees to. Momo sets up a group date just for her, but she isn't interested in the guy and just wants to go home. The guy tries starting a conversation multiple times, but each time it gets more awkward. On their way back, she receives a message from Ruroheim, and after she tells Momo that it's the girl from the gang she plays, the other questions whether it is really a girl or a creep lurking behind such an avatar. Now that the other has brought up this question, Akane starts thinking about it since she never asked her. She spots a girl wearing a Yumikawa-themed outfit, resembling Ruroheim, but she quickly throws the idea away. After getting back home, she quickly logs into the online game and finds Ruroheim and Yamada chatting outside. She's too embarrassed to approach them and just waits inside to see their chat. They haven't noticed her, and Ruroheim recalls their early days when it was just the two of them, and the other tells her that things were easy for them as they both had a fair understanding of the game. Since Ruroheim is worried that no other member has logged in today, the other points out toward Akane, who has been standing behind them for a while. Ruroheim is overjoyed to see her while the other logs off as he has the stuff to attend to. Seeing them together makes Akane wonder whether they are in a relationship. The following day, she feels rattled by the idea and cannot focus on anything. The guy from the date night meets her up once more, but the two don't click this time either, and after she sees Yamada, the person she suspects to be Ruroheim, she is bewildered even more. Later, when she gets back home, she doesn't feel like playing the game and decides to go to bed. Suddenly, her phone rings, and she finds a text from Ruroheim. After talking to her, she informs him about the game's official cafe and wants to meet her in real life. As Akane has been feeling lonely, she decides to meet up with them for a change. In the morning, she heads out to meet them at the site, but she forgets the directions and bumps into a blonde, glassy dude. The guy knows about the location, and he decides to help her. On their way, Akane feels a creepy energy radiating from him, but once they start talking, she realizes how much of a gaming nerd he is. Upon seeing Yamada, she runs up to him and realizes that the others are her guildmates. She greets Ruroheim, or so she thought, but the other reveals that she has no idea who she is and awkwardly stares at her. The glassy dude, Ida, recognizes Akane. After checking out the merchandise, they finally decide to order something, and Akane still doesn't have any idea that Ida is actually Ruroheim. As he and Mr. Komoda are talking, she asks Runa about their identities, and the other is disgusted that she is getting too close to a stranger. Runa doesn't have any idea about her in-game interactions with Ruroheim freaking her out. Yamada eases the situation by instructing the others to introduce themselves. When Ida reveals that he is actually Ruroheim in-game and his sister Runa is just a character model for her, Akane is devastated as she exchanges her number with him and even asks him for advice. When she calls him a nakama, the other starts defensive about it and excuses that he's just a romanticist keen on exploring ideas and stuff. Akane has no interest in hearing him out and feels relief that Ruroheim and Yamada aren't in a relationship at least. Yamada tells her that he never had a girlfriend and that Ida is just his senior. The other is glad, and Runa overhears her. She is enraged at her, but Ida calms her down. As she is feeling too embarrassed, Akane accidentally drops off the glass and Yamada stops her from picking the shattered pieces, thinking it would hurt her. He notices an unusual aura from her and quickly excuses himself that he has a call to attend to. Ida follows him, and she is left alone with Komoda and Runa. Komoda was looking forward to meeting her as Ida had informed everyone that they were welcoming a new player into their guild. Runa plays the game too, but she only logs once in a month. Outside, Ida approaches Yamada, and the other tells her that he felt as if she wanted him to disappear, unaware that the other was just feeling shy in front of him. Ida tells him how different Akane is in real life, but the other spots are no different at all. Ida lectures him about not having a girlfriend even now, and he thinks about the first time he rejected a girl. Later, when they are saying goodbyes, Runa curses Akane, and Komoda is astonished that such a young girl can use this sort of language. Akane and Yamada decide to head back together, and she notices everyone staring at them. Initially, she thought she was wearing something embarrassing, but quickly realized that the other was just too popular. She is surprised when he buys pudding for dinner and decides to make something for him. After making him wait for a while, she brings him curry and other stuff so he can eat something good for once. She suddenly gets a call from an unknown number, and after picking it up, Rana immediately apologizes from the other end. To make everything right, she wants to apologize in person and decides to meet her on the weekend. Akane is excited to meet her and asks Yamada about her preferences so she can discuss everything with her. Yamada is adjusting his DPI mouse sensitivity when Ida calls him to head over to their house to tutor Rana. On the other hand, Akane reaches the location prescribed by Rana, but only finds a gaming nerd there, who keeps mistaking her for Wuraheim and isn't lending an ear to a word she is saying. She gets worried and tries calling Rana, but the other excuse is that she is busy with something and will come over soon. As she feels uncomfortable around him, she runs off to the bathroom and locks herself inside. Meanwhile, Yamada arrives at her home, and after asking whether she has other plans, Rana informs him that she is completely free and she can study at ease. Akane tries calling Rana again and again, but there's no answer from her end, and she gets anxious. To make things worse, the other guy follows her to the bathroom and starts knocking on the door to check up on her. She makes an excuse just to stay there, but the other suddenly tries opening the door. Akane is horrified at this and prays that some help appears. At Ida's house, Yamada decides to check up on Akane himself, but the other tries to stop him since she feels her study is more important. Ida barges in, and after going through the messages, he realizes that his sister has pulled a prank on Akane. Rana doesn't want her to stay in their guild and feels that things were far better when she wasn't in their circle. Mr. Komoda is worried about her, and they all head over to rescue her. Ida instructs Rana to apologize to her, but the other is still stubborn about it. As they arrive, Mr. Komoda mistakes the other guy's intentions and starts threatening him, but she makes everything clear and convinces them that he's just trying to help. Yamada notices the wound on her legs, and she explains how she slams herself into the toilet. Rana is standing a bit farther, and just as Akane looks at her, she runs away. Akane tried following her, but her leg wouldn't let her continue. Seeing this, Rana suddenly gets back and checks up on her. After everyone goes away to bring medicine for her, Rana stays behind and she apologizes for her earlier behavior. Akane accepts it, and the two discuss how they can co-op the game. Rana is a spoiled child thanks to her gentle parents and cares deeply for everyone who is close to her, albeit she feels heavy disdain towards unfamiliar people and places. Ever since childhood, she has been a lonely girl in her class, and some girls would occasionally bully her. However, she didn't fall for their tricks and would just ignore them. Most of the boys in her class had a secret crush on her, but after finding out that she is a hardcore gothic Lolita, they would cringe a bit and refuse to get near her. Although she acts high and mighty like a lion at home, she is no different than a mouse outside, and is even afraid of talking to her classmates. She notices them doing a weird dance, and after visiting her new friend Akane, she tells her all about it. The two have gotten closer, and Akane takes her outside to see a concert. On their way back, they spot some people following dance trends, and Akane wants to join in, but the other doesn't want to mingle with them. Rana feels that if she had a few more friends, she would dance together with them. Later, while Akane and Rana play the online game, Momo hurls all of her complaints at them, but the two don't lend an ear to her and she shouts at the thin air. Akane shows Yamada her new equipment in the game, and the other tells her that she is using the wrong gear. After she is finished, she wants Momo to try as well, but her system finally gives in and greets them with dense smoke. Rana informs her brother about it, and he contacts Yamada to head over there and have a look at it since Akane is depressed about it. Yamada feels like Ida could do a better job, but the other tells him that it would cause suspicions since they are of the same age. As she opens her door, she finds Yamada along with Rana, who informs her that they are here to repair her laptop. While he is checking out the internal system, Akane is sitting close to him, and Rana takes a photo to send to her brother. The other instructs her to make them get closer, and her mind is flooded with weird ideas. She makes her eat a toast and wants her to go before Yamada since she thinks it would be funny, but is annoyed when the other swallows it. Now that she is out of ideas, Rana pushes Akane into Yamada, and the other immediately leaves to get some equipment. The two feel like he is just trying to escape them. The reason Yamada left immediately was that he wasn't used to Akane getting too close to him, and he felt embarrassed about it. After buying the preferred tools, the receptionist asked about his name, but he doesn't feel like it is necessary to exchange introductions with everyone and heads back to the apartment. As he enters, he finds a meal ready for him while the other two are asleep. He wants to work on the laptop quickly and be done with it, but the moment he lays his eyes upon the sleeping Akane, he can't take his eyes off her and slowly moves in to remove her hair clipper as he feels like she looks better this way. Suddenly, they knock on the door, and as he is the only one awake at the moment, he goes out to check it. It is none other than her ex, who is here to return all the containers she gave him. He initially suspects the two are in a relationship, but Yamada assures him that nothing is going on between the two, and he quickly realizes that the other isn't one to waste his time with relationships. He wants to see Akane, but as she is asleep, Yamada tells him that the other is doing fine and Takuma decides to leave. He tells her to keep it a secret that he is here and makes an excuse about the containers. Just as he leaves, Akane comes out to check who Yamada is talking to, and the other tells her that the containers came flying on their own with the straightest face possible. Upon entering the room, he gives her Clipper back but doesn't reveal why he removed it in the first place. The following day, Akane heads off for an interview for a part-time job and manages to land a nighttime shift. She informs Momo quickly, who is on a group date again, but luck just isn't on her side. She doesn't understand why Akane would need a part-time job, and the other explains that she wants to pay the money back to Ida. Later, she logs into the online game and finds Ida there. Akane is surprised that Mr. Komodo's avatar is so tiny and immediately asks about the price of the equipment from Ida. However, the other tells her that those were spare parts. Since they are trying to reach an understanding, Komodo decides to help, and they instruct her to sponsor their team in the upcoming event at Yamada's school to promote their guild. Meanwhile, Yamada is taking out the trash at school when the students tell him about continuous calls on his phone, and as he checks it, Ida has sent him a message about the upcoming event. Akane meets up with Komodo and Runa to head over to the event, and they immediately spot Ida wearing bunny ears and being surrounded by loads of girls. He wants them to wait, but they decide to ignore him and head to the school. After wandering around, Runa and Akane decide to enter the hallway, and the former starts feeling a sudden stomach ache. Akane accompanies her to the restroom, and as she is awaiting her, she spots Yamada. She calls for him, but the other is busy and enters the class. Akane comforts herself over this, and just as she is checking up on Runa, Yamada gets back to see her. The other apologizes for his prior behavior and tells her that he couldn't answer her call. His classmate, Tsubaki, sees him talking to Akane and stares in awe at how well the two get along. Since Runa is still feeling the pain, they take her to the infirmary, and the doctor prescribes her some rest. She is just faking it and is actually worried about the entrance exam, as she hasn't been eating lately. They want to contact Ida to let him know about this, but she stops them as her brother will put restrictions on her. Akane and Yamada leave to buy some snacks for her, and Akane can feel the murderous gazes of all the students directed at her. His PE the teacher is impressed that he has finally gotten a girlfriend, completely misunderstanding their relationship, and the rumor spreads that Yamada is into older girls. Afterward, they meet up with Ida and Komodo outside, and the former jokes about the two looking exactly like couples. He tells them that they should start dating already, which Yamada agrees to, knowing it's a joke, and this doesn't go well with Akane, who is flabbergasted. Embarrassed, she runs off, and Yamada immediately follows her. Tsubaki tells him to never make her run again. Akane bumps into Tsubaki before being stopped by Yamada. Since she is feeling too many stares, she takes him upstairs. He assures her that they were just joking and apologizes for it. Akane asks him what he would have done if she had said yes to dating him, and the other responds that it would have been an honor for him if she dated someone like him. Akane finally realizes how he sees her, and the two head back to meet their friends. Yamada runs into Akane at her convenience store employment, and she begs him to wait for her since she has made him nutritious meals once again. Her coworkers are astonished that she and her boyfriend are not dating. Yamada rescues her from being struck by a bicycle, which has a profound emotional impact on her since she is unclear whether being in love with him is appropriate. Runa is upset that a new female player is joining the group because she fears she will be nice and take Akane from her. Akane is startled that Yamada's classmate has accepted his invitation. Tsubaki seems to have a crush on Yamada and hates the concept of him with other females, becoming angry while he chats on the phone with Akane. She asks Yamada whether he loves Akane, but despite having warm memories of her, he is unable to respond. Later, when Runa is being coached by Yamada, Akane phones to inform her that she will be unable to play FOS that night. Akane's cold has worsened as a result of a combination of working overtime and not eating, and the physician's clinic is closed for the weekend. She tries to go shopping but trips and falls outside her flat. Yamada appears and saves her. In her confusion, she concludes that she must be dreaming about Yamada, who picks her up and drives her to her flat. Yamada's absence bothers Tsubaki, who remembers falling in love with him once he defeated her in another multiplayer game. She now worries that she waited too long and lost him. Tsubaki also recalls Yamada telling her about a student who was ridiculed for having a crush on him, prompting her to switch schools. Yamada started avoiding females completely, prompting Tsubaki to postpone confessing to him until today. As Akane's condition worsens, Yamada takes her to the hospital and returns home after she is released, although the other barely has any recollection of this event. Yamada is sleeping in her flat when she wakes and she recalls nothing. She sobs when she realizes how much he supports her despite the inconvenience it costs him. Since it is hot in there, she quickly opens up the window and the gust awakens him. Yamada is reminded of the girl from before and how terribly he failed her, but Akane talking about her own breakup makes him feel better and helps him comprehend the issue better. Her dehydration creates a leg cramp, which Yamada relieves, making her realize that despite being in her bed, she feels comfortable with him. Her reaction makes him chuckle. Yamada departs, despite Akane's desire for him to remain and her sadness at his departure. Momo pays Akane a visit while she heals, and after hearing what Yamada did, is certain he is in love with her. Akane participates in FOS and eventually meets Tsubaki, so the two go monster hunting with Ida. Ida purposefully pulls back, allowing Akane and Tsubaki to collaborate on a strong boss. However, even after fighting for hours, they fail to land decent damage, although they are successful in forming a tentative bond. Akane phones Yamada for information on the boss monster and devises a plan. Tsubaki realizes how approachable Akane is and starts feeling bad that she was envious of her. She tells Ida that she joined FOS for selfish reasons, but now that she has spent enough time, she has found it incredibly fun. However, she does not clarify her reasons as it will cause her embarrassment. Ida advises her to go for it or nothing will ever change. Akane tells Yamada she appreciates hearing his voice before quickly hanging up. Later, she arranges for coffee with Momo to express her true feelings about why Takuma ditched her so she may begin to heal from their split. They are immediately joined by two men from Momo's last group date, both of whom she considers insensitive and obnoxious. The two continue being pesky, and even though Momo makes it clear that they aren't interested in them, the others find a way to irritate them. Fortunately, they are rescued by Ida, a server at the cafe, who shifts the lads to another table afterward. They catch up before they can part their ways. Momo feels a little envious that Akane knows yet another gorgeous man. Akane decides to ask Ida a question as well. Akane is feeling shy and unable to ask him directly, so Momo states in her place that Akane is in love and wants to know why she was dumped before. Ida recollects how the two of them met in the game and tells her that Yamada is gentler than Takuma, and that given Yamada's attitude, she should be direct with him. Encouraged, Akane chooses to confess right now and heads off to his place. Just as she leaves, Momo starts asking weird questions from Ida and quickly makes him move on him. When she arrives at Yamada's house, she tries to confess, but the neighbors continue to disturb her confession. He takes her inside, and before she can reveal anything, the other needs to go to cram school. She follows him but refuses to confess in public. Yamada notices that she has something to tell and assures her that he will call her later. It starts to rain, and Yamada is forced to share his umbrella with Tsubaki. As soon as Yamada leaves, Tsubaki starts running after him to make a confession, though she bumps into someone. Luckily, the other gets back to her rescue, and she instantly reveals her feelings toward him. Just for a single day, she wants him to think of her, and the other decides to not call Akane. Meanwhile, Akane is disappointed when Yamada texts her that he will have to call her another day, but understands that he may have something important to tend to. Ida later questions Yamada about Akane's confession. Yamada, mistaking him for Tsubaki, answers that he is undecided, so Ida encourages him to respond immediately. He goes to meet Akane, who senses he is depressed, and she doesn't reveal anything in order to cheer him up by chatting about FOS. Later, Yamada walks out to chat with Tsubaki. Tsubaki embarks on a rambling monologue about everything she appreciates about Yamada after some discomfort, making him more uncomfortable. Tsubaki feels immense relief at finally saying it, but is not shocked when he rejects her, finally acknowledging for the first time that he likes Akane. Tsubaki goes home, holding back her emotions until Yamada has gone. Akane had supper with Ida, Runa, and Takizo, who is reportedly a business president in real life. Yamada comes late and is assigned to look after Akane, who is pleasantly intoxicated after not comprehending how powerful the booze is. He chooses to forego dinner and drive her safely home, holding her hand the whole time. She asks him whether he likes her at her flat while drunk. He confesses it, then vows to come the following day to admit it again, just in case she has a hangover cognitive impairment. She asks if she may call him in the morning to hear him say it, and they embrace each other. The following day, Akane struggles with the fact that she has a boyfriend who is younger than she is, and she is concerned about being a distraction or a burden. Yamada can't help but recall their turbulent first meeting months ago as they stroll hand in hand. What did you think of the video? Let us know in the comments. For more content, leave a like and subscribe to our channel.